Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Paranormal Primetime on its new nights, which I have been trying to think of a name for the last couple days, and I think I settled on Trap Thursdays, because whether you're saying a devil trap or you're looking for a thirst trap, we got both. So we're here. Ah,
Yeah, we'll work on that.
hey, Paranormal Primetime only fans coming soon. But welcome, folks. We have two more episodes of season two of Supernatural to talk about, and I will say it was a rather good week for Supernatural this week. So we got some shit to talk about, and Scotty gets the odds, so Scotty goes first.
Okay, so I got season 2, episode 7, The Usual Suspects, which is a reference to a movie. This one was written by, we've got Eric Kripke and Sierra Gamble, but it looks like Catherine Humphries, which she spells her name Catherine Humphries, not like
Humphreys.
freeze.
Humphreys. Oh, actually, I don't know. Is it?
Humphries, yeah.
I don't know.
Uh, I'm assuming she's the one that wrote this, but the director was Mike Raoul. And this dude has done only rom-coms. He's done a couple of other movies like later in the day, but he's done movies like Miss Christmas, a Christmas musical, Bringing Christmas, and then he did the whole Princess Switch series, which I've never seen, but 1, 2, and 3. Nothing but rom coms out of this fucking director. We do have a very special guest star in this. We'll get to though. So, I thought that was weird. What did you think about like a rom com dude writing? It is this episode is kind of like CSI type shit, but
I would almost
what?
suspect the writer. I would almost expect the writer of CSI or like Law and Order to be on it, not a rom com writer. But
Yeah, no, it was weird. I thought that was crazy. So this starts off, and this whole episode is like just cut to cut to cut to cut to cut. It worked out. It was pretty good, but it starts off, and we see a detective interviewing somebody, and the SWAT team like going into a hotel room, and we see like back shots of Sam and Dean. Spoiler alert: a minute in, you realize that Dean is getting questioned by these detectives, and Sam is getting swatted in a fucking hotel.
not as dirty as it
Um,
sounds, folks.
huh?
So not as dirty as that sounds, but
So then we cut to, and this is where we get to the special guest star, Officer Reagan from The Exorcist, special guest star Linda Blair,
which I
and
didn't real I didn't realize that until about 2 minutes ago when I looked up who was on this episode, and I was like, "Oh shit! I would never recognize that in a million years."
so we have a rom com writer writing this episode, and somebody from one of the greatest movies of all time guest starring in it. So it's
Debatable,
gonna go good.
debatable. Best movie of all
Debatable.
time.
They're talking about a movie. There are references to another movie that sucks ass. Everybody goes along with. But so then we cut to after this whole like swatting detective shit. We find out Sam and Dean. We switch to Sam being interrogated by Officer Reagan, and her name is Detective Diana Ballard, Linda Blair. We're just going to call her Officer Reagan for the rest of this. And she's coming in as the good cop and basically goes through Sam's entire life story from like childhood all the way to the girlfriend dying to Dean with that uh, skin shifter. Fucking what the fuck? Skin shifter? What do they call that?
The Shifter, yeah.
Shapeshifter. Yeah, that the murder that he got fucking accused for, and they thought he died. Well, now they know Dean's alive again, and so they're going over this, and Sam's going with the fact that he's just on a road trip with his brother after his girlfriend was burned to death in a fire, and they saw the second biggest ball of twine in the continental U.S. Right? So they're going for that. And Detective Reagan's telling Sam, like, hey, dude, we got 12 possible hits on Dean. How many do you think you have? Like, we got prints on a bunch of murders, and this shit is not looking good for you. So they're also, at the exact same time, they exhumed Dean's fake dead body after he was torturing all of those women from that episode. Like, so I don't know what the fuck they would think when they, actually, like, oh shit, this is like his exact fucking body. How the fuck did that happen? Right? That was a little weird.
Well, no, because I mean, shifters. I think they go back to goo, don't they? Don't they go back to goo?
They said they had Dean's body exhumed, so I don't know. I don't know. I thought that's why they thought he died, was because he died and stayed as Dean. So I don't know how that works.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so at this point, she's trying to get fucking Sam to like kind of rat on her brother, saying like, "You still have a life to live. Your brother is guilty to rights. Like, just fucking give him up, and we'll give you some sort of plea deal." And then Sam starts telling his side of the story. So we go into this flashback, and this whole flashback scene that I'm about to describe is Sam's bullshit version of what actually happened. So Sam says that Tony Giles, this is the dude. We get a newspaper clipping of this guy whose throat was slashed by a I can't find it right here, but it basically like a throat was slashed by an invisible killer. So, oh yeah, man's throat slit without a trace. That's the newspaper headline. We see that, but the flashback, Sam saying that Tony Giles and their dads were friends from like Vietnam, and they were there to fucking visit him. And so it flashes back, and it's from like the perspective of fucking Dean and Sam walking down the street talking about their next case. And Dean's fucking came up with the case. He's like invisible killer. And then they get into this whole like Dean's fucking happy about this invisible killer shit. And he calls Sam Scully, and then fucking Sam calls Dean Scully, which is your X-Files reference. And Dean says, no,
Yep.
I'm Mulder, you're Scully, you're a redheaded woman. So then they cut to Tony's. They're going to the guy's wife, right? This Tony Guli's dad's friend, not really the dad's friend, but they
Guile.
go to his Giles, yeah. And they go to talk to his wife as like life insurance salesman. They ask all these weird questions, like, and then they get into this nightmare. I thought for how old Tony Giles was, his wife was very young. So Tony
Money. Power.
liked him younger. Tony liked him younger. And so finally they get out of Tony's wife, which we'll find out later because I wrote it down like 2 pages in my notes later. But she fucking finally says that he had a nightmare about this girl who, like, pale ghost girl at the foot of their bed with dark red eyes. And, they're not really knowing what to do with this, but the detective at the same time is not buying this story, Detective Reagan. So, I mean, this is kind of a hard thing to fucking tell people how this is going on. But Sam is telling a story, which is a fake story, to the detective, and this is what we're telling you. So, cut to them breaking into this house, and nope. Dean finds all these papers that says Dana Schultz, like over and over and over again on this fax machine paper, and it's not spaced, it's just Dana Schultz, pages of this shit. And then Dean makes a reference. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and that is the first shitty reference to one of the shittiest movies in the world, and I will debate anybody. The Shining fucking sucked. What the hell is up with the furry sucking the dude off in the end? Shining sucked.
I wholeheartedly agree. The book is 100 times better.
After I saw the movie, I'm not wasting my time reading the book.
Oh, it's one of Stephen King's greatest books. You should read it. But
so after this reference, you know, Sam's on the computer because he's the computer guy and Dean's not. Sam notices that Dana Schultz is written like kind of smudged on the glass. He blows, and there it is. We've got Dana Schultz on the glass table. I don't know if the ghost or the dude like wrote it, and there's the oil, whatever the fuck. But as Sam's sitting there just hacking away, doing whatever kind of weird ass gay computer shit he's doing, Dean gets bored, so he wants to go and talk to the wife. And then we switch to fucking Regan talking again and saying, no, the 911 call with Karen says someone's in the house. And this is like, we've got Dean to rights. He was there. He killed her. And then we cut to the girl again, the fucking Scarlett from Tony Giles, right? His wife. And she's seeing this pale, white, red-eyed ghost girl. And then her fax machine just starts going off, and we've got this Dana Schultz shit coming out again. And then wham, it looks like the ghost kills Tony's wife. And then we cut to Dean, like, retelling the story. Sam's telling the story. Dean's breaking into the fucking house, and the power's off. So he finds this girl and finds all the faxes, and he's, like, inspecting her. She's got these weird fucking marks around her wrist. And then the cops fucking find him. He's fucking caught. Then we cut to the detectives. We've got Pete and Detective Regan. They're talking in the back, and they're saying that Sam's story matches Dean's story to the last fucking detail. So Regan starts having doubts about, like, them being the actual killers, because there's no, like, fucking murder weapon. Like, sure, Dean's in there, but, like, you know, he's not covered in blood. This bitch is cut up, and there's no fucking murder weapon. They got nothing, really. And the other detective's like, well, he was at the scene of the crime, and he did all this other shit, so we're going to pin it all on him. And then she goes into saying that fucking the other detective, Pete, was actually friends with Tony. And then we can tell that they have a fling. Regan and Pete have this sort of like non-HR approved fling where they're like kissing out of sight of everybody. And Sam and Dean are separated at this time. And they're both like on these crazy ass murder trials. But they keep like trying to figure out what this fucking Dana Schultz shit means.
Yep.
And then I noticed Sam's A's when he's drawing are like these fucking stars without the last line.
Yeah, pentagrams.
Did you see that?
I didn't catch that, no.
I was kind of wondering if, because like when Supernatural, the credits roll open, the A turns into a pentagram and then back into an A. I was
Well, it does in the
wondering if
intro
that,
too, yeah.
Is that yeah in the intro? Is that Sam's like actual way he writes A's, or is that for the show? I thought was a little interesting.
Don't, I don't think we'll ever know unless we can get Jared on the show.
He's coming on, dude. I'm telling you. How many other people are doing a fucking supernatural?
I guarantee we're not the only ones in the world. But
Oh, of course we are. Don't watch anybody else's, fuckers, and email Sam. Okay, so Reagan had these doubts. They're going over the Dana Schultz shit. And then Dean's public defender comes in and is basically like, "You're fucked," And Dean's like, "Hey, I made this list of words that Dana Schultz could possibly be. Could you find out anything? Like, is there a place, or a person, or something that this could be?" And the fucking public defender is like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But he's like, Ashland Street's close. So then Dean makes this fucking letter and says, "Can you give this to my brother?" And the fucking public defender is like, "What the fuck am I doing with this crazy shit?" So then we cut to, like I said, a lot of cut scenes. Reagan's computer just starts saying Dana Schultz over and over and over again. Cut to the fucking public defender giving Sam the note, and it says the Ashland Street shit, and it's from McQueen. So then we cut to another cut scene where Dean set up this like whole fucking confessional shit. We got all the cops and videographers and crazy shit in the room, and he just starts telling the truth about the whole thing, making funnies. It's fucking Casper, the bloodthirsty ghost. He even
I'd watch that.
he even says that the shapeshifter was the one that he's like being accused for in the other place. He makes the second shittiest movie in the world reference and says Red Rum. I'm sure everybody knows what that is. But then he talks about Ashland Street. I'm not joking, Punch. And that was enough time for fucking Sam to escape. And then when Reagan sees the fucking letter, he sees that it was from, or she sees that it was from McQueen, and he's from The Great Escape. So that was code for fucking Sam to get out of there. Dean set this whole shit up to give him enough time. Then we cut to fucking Detective Reagan having this full-on ghost experience in the bathroom, and she sees this fucking girl. She goes to talk to Dean about it, and she has the fucking marks on her wrist. So, like, there's all the people who have died had these, like, strangle marks on their fucking wrist. And I thought this is definitely a first, but Dean tells Detective Reagan to look for the first motel in the Yellow Pages, and that's where Sam will be, and to look up Jim Rothford. And that's how they find each other, apparently, when you guys are good. That's how they find each other when they get split up. I thought that was a cool little behind the scenes type catch there.
Yeah, that was actually a reference to something, I'm pretty sure, but I can't find it now.
I wouldn't know what that reference was for.
Oh, Jim Rockford, the Rockford Files.
Is that like an X-Files thing?
The Rockford Files were not like X Files, but the Rockford Files was just a cop show from the 70s.
Okay. Well, and we gotta look for if they change that shit up later, because that is a cool way to do it, right? Like first motel out of the Yellow Pages, and then go under this alias. I don't know if you'd get away with that anymore.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
People can Google shit nowadays.
So, Oh, yeah. Right when fucking Detective Reagan comes in, Sam looks like he's about to shit his pants. Like, what the fuck? Again, bitch? So then she's going over her ghost experience and out of her fucking mind. Like, I don't know what the fuck happened. And she says the ghost couldn't talk. And then Sam shows her his shit, and she's like, how the fuck did you get those files? And has her going through all these police files of like fucking murdered people on Ashland Street. And she picks one out, and it's Claire Becker. And this lady's never dealt with Claire Becker, but she was arrested twice for selling heroin. And that's when we get the reference where Sam tells her that we got to salt and burn the bones. And she's like, of course it is. Of course that's what we got to go do. So they start searching this flop house. Still shitty flashlights, by the way, especially with Detective Reagan. Very shitty flashlight for a detective, I might say. And Reagan sees the ghost reaching out again. And then, she's like, no, it was that way. So they go and move this bookshelf, and they see their mystery word, which I wrote it down. It's Ashland Sup in reverse. I don't know how that goes to, the fuck was the word? Dana, where is it? I should have highlighted that part. Dana Schultz. How do you get, I guess you'd have to move them all around, but it said it's Ashland Supplies, but you can only see Ashland Sup. It shows up on the wall, like a brick wall next to it. So I guess, I guess, I don't know where the fucking D, yeah, I guess the D's there. You still gotta mix all the fucking letters around. I think that was bullshit. So Sam brings his little fucking EMF meter up to this brick wall where this thing's like projecting to, and they bust it down, and yeah, there's a fucking dead body there. And then Sam, like they know the body's in there, and he's breaking the rest down before they pull it off. He says, "This is fucking bothering me. Why would a vengeful spirit lead us to the body where we're gonna fucking like salt and burn this thing? This doesn't make any sense at this point." And then they find the corpse is tied up, and it's got fucking restraints against the wrist. So that does the marks for everybody who's died. And they find this necklace on the fucking dead corpse of this heroin dealer, and it's the same one the goddamn Detective Reagan's wearing. So now we know this Pete fella, Detective Pete, has got to be in on this shit. And she goes on to say that, a year ago, all this heroin escaped from the evidence room, and they couldn't find it had to be a cop. They couldn't find the cop that did it. And then we cut to Pete, Detective Pete, transferring Dean at 2 a.m. in the morning, where he's just like, yeah, we got to move him. And everybody thinks this shit's weird. Dean knows it's weird. He's like, this can't be fucking good. And then Sam tells him, like, well, it's a county vehicle. There should be a low jack on the fucking vehicle so we can find out where they are. And the fucking van stops, and Dean says, pee break so soon? Might want to get your prostate checked. He knows he's fucked. This cop's about to fucking put one in his head.
Yep.
And then Pete goes on to say, opens the door and says, you're not going to make it to St. Louis. This is a prisoner escape gone wrong. And then there's this big ass gun standoff between Reagan and Pete. And Pete admits to everything, which I don't know what the fuck his game plan was there. He's going to kill the person he was transporting, his fucking detective partner, and then why the fuck would Sam be there?
He would have killed Sam too. That would have been the plan. But
Yeah, I get that, but like, what do you say at that point? Like, all these people were just there.
I don't think he had a plan at that point. I think he just knew he was fucked and he was trying to escape any way he could.
I would have like fucking ran. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't try to kill any more people. I would have just like found the
Oh yeah.
first train yard and got the fuck out of Dodge at that point.
Oh yeah.
Some people just have this like mentality where they can't lose. And I've got the exact opposite mentality where it's like,
It's called reality.
get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pete eventually gets on this whole scuffle. It lasts about 4 minutes, and Pete gets the upper hand on them, and he's fucking holding everybody hostage with the last gun after he was shot. And then he sees the ghost, and I guess the other gun was close to Reagan, and Reagan shoots him in the fucking back. And now, case solved, right? This is the end of the thing. We found out Pete was the bad guy. He had actually killed all the people in this episode. The ghost was there to warn him. And Reagan's talking to Sam and Dean and says, like, I can get your case cleared on this one, but the St. Louis case with the shapeshifter, you guys are kind of fucked on that. Like, Dean's still going to jail. But I could turn my back right now and you guys could disappear. And then fuckhead Sam says, but you could lose your job. Fucking dick. And then, they get into, like, where's the car? And she's like, don't try to get your car back. And, this isn't the first time we've done this, bitch. And we see them walking off. And this was the greatest reference for this movie. At the end, Dean asks if she looks familiar, and then he says, man, I'm super hungry. I could go for some pea soup right now. And that's what they used as the vomit in The Exorcist.
Yep. If I realized who the actress was from the beginning, I would have got that immediately. But I flew right by my head. Like it flew right by me. I was just like, what the fuck? But and then as soon as I realized at the beginning of this, when I was looking it up in the beginning of this, I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense now. Okay.
Yeah. She looked old, dude. Because this was 20 years ago. Was this 20? Yeah, this was 20 years ago almost. 19 years.
19 years ago. And I mean, Exorcist was what, 40?
1979.
I thought it was 74, but I could be wrong. So yeah, I mean,
You'd
Exorcist
have to
is
Google
what?
that.
Exorcist is what? Almost 50 years old now?
Yeah, but minus 20 years, she would be like 40. She's looking bad at 40.
I don't know. I really don't know. But she I
I'm
feel like
40.
she had yeah. I don't know. It's hard. Child actors. Child actors. That's all I know. But
yeah, I heard she got fucked up.
Yeah. So I guess time for my episode, folks.
No. You got to rate it first. What was your rating on that one?
I would give it I'd give it a 3.8, only because it wasn't really like a supernatural episode. It was like a supernatural / like crossover with a cop show.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 just because we had Linda Blair in there. But I don't like fucking cop episodes either.
Yeah, I mean it's
still
like
good.
If I wanted to watch Ghost Rider, I'd watch Ghost Rider. But yeah, I mean it was still good though. It was still enjoyable. Those episodes are usually funny enough where it makes up for it. But
wasn't as bad as Bugs.
Oh God, no. But it's gonna be interesting to see if we ever get another episode that becomes the new Bugs. But I don't remember if there's another one like that. But folks, I had season 2, episode 8 this week, titled Crossroad Blues, and it was written by a name we all know that should be familiar to anybody who listens to this show regularly, Sarah Gamble, who writes really good episodes of this show. And it was directed by Steve Boyum, which that name I've heard before. I don't remember where, but I've heard it before on this show. So, but and we got a few firsts in this one, but we'll get to those. The episode starts off in a bar back in what we later find out was the 30s, and there's a man on stage playing the blues with his guitar, holding a cigarette in his mouth. He looks at
1938.
Now, I wasn't gonna get to that till later, but he looks at a young woman in the audience, and all of a sudden he hears growling coming from outside the bar, and he stops playing. And when he stops playing, the growling stops. He continues to play, but every few seconds the growling starts again, and each time he heard it, he would stop playing. It goes back and forth for a while. And suddenly he notices a large shadow figure dash by the window outside. He drops his cigarette and runs out the door with his guitar in his hand. He runs down a dark road, dropping his guitar, and he rushes home, bolting the door and pushing a chair under the doorknob. The chair doesn't keep hold as the door breaks open, and the young woman, Sadie, and two other guys rush in to find him having some kind of seizure. They try to keep him alive, but he just keeps whispering, "Black dogs! Black dogs!" We flash forward to the present, where Sam is sitting on his laptop and tells Dean that he's officially in the Fed's database. And Dean laughs it off, very happy about that, as if it's a crest of honor. Sam tells him that it's not funny, that only makes their job harder and they have to be more careful. And however, there's nothing in the database on Sam yet, which is a good thing. And
Sam was a little bugged. Sam was a little bugged. He's not in the Bonnie and Clyde database.
But they start talking about the case they're working on currently. And Sam tells Dean that an architect named Sean Boyden plummeted to his death from the roof of his home, a condominium he designed. And he said he called Animal Control 2 days earlier, reporting of seeing vicious wild black dogs. Nobody could find the dogs, and no one saw them. And after that, he didn't show up for work, and 2 days later he died. Sam says there are spectral black dogs all over the world, such as Fenrir from Norse mythology. I add that part in. But some say they're animal spirits, others say they're death omens. So the brothers go and pose as writers for Architectural Digest, and they talk with Sean's business partner. They find out that he had a very nice life, but that 10 years ago he couldn't design a building for anything, and that he worked at a bartender at a place called Lloyd's, the bar from the first scene. Then overnight he became this genius designer, designing some of the most ingenious buildings anyone had ever seen. And the boys stop by Animal Control to get more info, and Dean speaks with a girl who tells them they received 19 calls total, and she gives them the address of Sylvia Perlman, who was the most recent person to report the seeing black dogs. And she gives Dean an address, and he has to ask Sam, "What the hell is this?" And Sam's like, "That's her MySpace address." And Dean's like, "What's MySpace? Some kind of porn site?"
I had that written down too.
I found that hilarious, but I think I actually left out loud on that one. But Sam and Dean talk to Sylvia's maid and find out that Sylvia disappeared 2 days ago after reporting seeing black dogs. She was a surgeon at a very young age, the youngest in the history of the hospital. She got the job 10 years ago. Dean notices a picture of Sylvia and her friends at a bar. He flips it over and it reads Lloyd's Bar, 1996. It jumps to Sylvia pacing around a motel room, very nervous. The manager of the hotel knocks on the door, saying she either needs to leave or pay for the night. She grabs cash out of her purse, and when she turns around, she sees a demon's face fade in and out of the manager. She hands the guy the money and slams the door behind him. Sam and Dean finally make it to Lloyd's and walk up to the bar. And Dean notices there are yarrow flowers planted in the middle of a bunch of weeds, which are used for summoning rituals. They find it odd that 10 years ago, two people suddenly became sudden successes, where that just happens to be a crossroad. Dean digs a hole in the center of the crossroad and finds an old metal box buried inside. He opens it up and finds a bottle of graveyard dirt, a black cat bone, and other deep hoodoo items, which I love hoodoo, so this episode was awesome for that. And these are all used for summoning demons. He recalls that crossroads where pacts are made and realizes that these people aren't just summoning the demon, but they're making deals. And Sam then realizes that these people aren't seeing black dogs, but they're seeing hellhounds, or as he refers to them, demonic pit bulls. Giving pit bulls a bad name. But we go back to the hotel room, and the door handle's rattling. Sylvia's crouched behind the bed, crying her eyes out. And when the begging stops, she gets up slowly, only to be trampled back to the ground as the hellhound shatters through the glass window, tearing Sylvia to shreds as we see a streak of blood in the carpet. We jump back to 1930 with a very sensual Robert Johnson's Crossroad Blues playing in the background. And it's showing Robert putting his picture in the box with other hoodoo items and buries them in the center of the crossroad. He turns around to find the demon and responds with a simple, "Holy." Robert tells the demon that he wants her to make him the best bluesman ever lived. She grants him his wish with a kiss, and by the time he opens his eyes, she's gone. Which,
You
for
know,
those who do...
I had a
Right?
problem with that scene.
Why is that now?
Well, because she didn't go over any of the fucking stipulations.
She's a fucking demon, not a genie.
Yeah, but there was no 10 years shit. There was no, like, it just showed, and it never cut. It was the full scene from him burying the box to him seeing the demon and saying, "I want to be the greatest blues man that ever played." He kisses her. The camera's on him the whole time. He turns around and she's gone. Like, that doesn't seem like a fucking contract to me, son.
They're fucking demons, man. They're there to trick you. They're not there to tell you every fucking detail. They're not going to tell you to read the small print at the bottom of the page. Come on
But there
now.
was no print. She didn't even agree to it. I thought that was bullshit.
It's demons, dude. Demons don't have rules. They just want your soul. But
they do later on in the series.
Oh, that's certain demons. Not every Crossroad Demons follows that rule. But and for those who don't know,
for a taco.
For those who don't know, Robert Johnson is a real legend. He's a real legend blues musician, and he supposedly did make a pact with the devil to become as good as he was. Sam's later on when Sam talks about his music, everything he says is exactly true, which I'll get to that. But we go back to where Sam and Dean are discussing the hunt still, and Dean says the case is like the Robert Johnson legend, the whole selling your soul at the Crossroads deal. And Dean explains that Robert Johnson died choking on his own blood. He was hallucinating and muttering about big black dogs.
Sam says true?
Yes, I've heard that. I can't say that I have 100% proof it's true, but I've heard that as part of the legend. But I mean, deal with the devil, and there's hellhounds are a real thing. I mean, people talk about them all the time. So
we'll see what happens to Bobby D.
Yeah, I know, but Sam says they need to find out if any more people made deals with this demon, and Dean's being devil advocate says they need to figure about the whole case because people are making their own decisions to make these deals. But Sam, being Sam, says that they shouldn't leave anybody to die, no matter how stupid they are. And despite how Dean feels, they need to go on with the hunt. So they make their way to artist George Darrow's door, the person whose picture they found in the box, and they notice a line of pepper outside it. The door opens, and they get no time and they waste no time and get right to telling him about that they know about the deal he made 10 years ago. He tells them they got 5 minutes to talk to him. And he tells them that the stuff outside the door is goofer dust, which I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but what's outside the door is goofer dust, and it's used as protection against demons. And they try to get him to talk, but he doesn't say much, and he doesn't want their help. He tells them that sometimes people make their bed, and they have to sit down and lie in it. And all he wants to do is buy a little time to finish one last painting, but he gives them the name of another guy who made the deal with the demon, Evan Hudson. We flash forward to Evan working at his desk as he hears barking outside. He looks out the window and sees nothing. His wife walks in to say goodbye to him before she leaves for the weekend. He gives her a hug, says he loves her, and she responds the same before her face turns into that of the Crossroads demon. Sam and Dean
thought he was cheating, dude.
Oh, I know. But
he thought he was going to have a good time.
Sam and Dean go to his house and try to help him. He thinks they're demons, so he slams the door on them and runs to his study. They break down the door to go into the study after him. And after finally convincing him they aren't demons, they ask him what he asked for. and he tells him that his wife was dying of cancer and that he begged the demon to save her. Which Dean then tells Sam to take the goofer dust and keep the hellhounds away from him, and that he's going to the crossroad to summon the demon. Which, of course, Sam thinks is a horrible idea because of the way Dean's been acting. But Sam thinks that Dean believes their dad made one of those demonic deals to save his life, and that he should stay with them. But despite what Sam thinks, Dean heads for the crossroads anyway because he's Dean.
They both think that, though, in that point.
I don't know
Like
if Sam really does.
I think Sam brought it up because he was thinking, and Sam even says, like, you know, I would make that deal for you. You're thinking about making that deal for me. Like, that was a kind of a tense moment.
Yeah, I mean, it gets a little more tense, but we flash forward to the crossroads, and Dean puts his picture in the metal box along with other items and buries it in the dirt. He turns around to find a very red-eyed demon, very pleased to see him. She says she knows all about him and the deal their dad made. Dean requested they talk in his car, and she agrees. What does he think this is, a hooker? But meanwhile, back at Evan's house, Sam's covering every part of the room with goofer dust, and he makes a big circle of dust around Evan and tells him to stay inside the circle. Flashback to Dean as he's walking to baby. He tells the demon that he wants her to release Evan from the contract. She says that's not negotiable, that she can't terminate a binding contract. As she starts to get into the car, she notices a devil's trap underneath the car. She tells Dean, like, how stupid do you think I am? And she says she's willing to bring John back to just as he was, and Dean will be able to live 10 more years as a reunited family. So she actually mentions the 10-year thing to Dean, probably because he already knew about it. But
right?
Dean pretends to consider the deal, and he manages to lure her into another devil's trap underneath a water tower, and he begins to perform an exorcism on her. As he starts talking in Latin, the hellhound has gotten into Evan's study, is inching closer and closer to the circle, and Dean continues to incant as the hellhound slowly begins to eat away at the goofer dust. Before Dean finishes, the demon agrees to end Evan's contract if he lets her out of the devil's trap. She seals the bond with a kiss. Dean lets her out of the trap, and she says that Dean should have taken her up in the deal to bring John back. All of a sudden, the demon exercises itself from the girl's body, and the girl's like, "How did I get here?" But Dean doesn't know how to deal with the fact that he knows the truth about their dad's death. He thinks their dad should have died fighting me because that was his legacy, not bargaining with it. Sam ends up reminding him of all the people that their dad saved, and for that matter, the number of people they themselves are saved because of what their dad taught them, and that this is their dad's legacy, and that they're following in his footsteps to finish what he started. Bum, bum, bum. You know, the line for the season, we got to finish what he started.
What do you think about, you know how they had that goofer dust? Let's say you mix that shit in some concrete and just poured, like, a curb around you. Like, that motherfucker ain't getting in, dude. He ain't blowing that goofer dust away.
Oh, actually, apparently you can buy goofer dust on Amazon.com and a lot of other sites.
Don't buy that. Don't buy that. Make your own, people.
But it actually is a real thing. From its roots are in traditional Congo religions, and the word goofer comes from the Kikongo word kufwa, which means to die. And among older hoodoo practitioners, goofer is doesn't always define the dust, but it's also a verb as in he goofered that man, which is the funniest way I've ever heard to say he killed that man. But
the only thing you need to be buying from a fucking Cajun hoodoo priest is the crawfish oil. Let's be real, they're ripping you off on everything else.
And in the late, as up to the 1930s, goofering was a synonym for hoodooing in North Carolina, and and some say goofering could also mean poisoning as well. It's generally referred to as any power that can be used to cast a spell, especially of harmful nature, but specifically refers to a concoction of natural ingredients that can be used to cause harm, trouble, or even kill an enemy. And some people say it's synonymous with graveyard dirt. But
well, they had graveyard dirt too.
And
Or was
it's
that
actually
my episode?
it was actually I don't know, but they actually that was your episode.
Okay.
But oh no, that wasn't your episode. That they have graveyard. No, they
No.
need graveyard dirt has to go into the box to summon demon.
Oh, yeah, to summon the demon. Okay.
But Goofer Dust actually has made appearances on X Files as well, and a bunch of other shows and songs and whatnot. It's been around the block a few times. People use it up, but this is the first appearance of a Crossroad Demon and a Hellhound, so two firsts for this episode.
Yeah.
And it's actually only the second episode to deal with demons. Well, demons in general, not specific ultra demons, but and
Might be the first and last of MySpace mentioned in
maybe
the show.
not sure. But apparently, the magazine they posed the interviewers for, Architectural Digest, apparently
Mm-hmm.
Jensen Ackles, Dean, and his wife in real life were featured in the magazine in 2018. But it's
That's
a real magazine.
Cool. For some rich ass house they bought.
Yeah. And this is one of the few episodes that actually ends with a preview of events to come. I don't know if it was the mid-season finale or whatnot, but
8? No, because they're doing like 20 something, not 16.
I don't know. I don't. I mean, it's weird they showed like a preview, but
Wasn't one of these seasons was short though? Maybe it was the second season. I remember
I'm not
when
sure.
we were looking through it, one of them was short.
Well, I'm not sure, but they did make a couple errors in this episode though too as well. All the people that get deals from the demon in this episode get 10 years. Robert Johnson only got 8 years for some reason.
Because he didn't fucking read the contract, dude.
Neither did anybody else, but
you're right, because he made the deal. We see him getting fucked with by the demon in 1938, and then when they do the flashback to him making the deal, it's 1930. I wonder what was up with that.
But and this is the only episode where hellhounds kill their victims by causing heart attacks and suicides rather than the usual mauling of victims. So, and
CGI got better.
And oh yeah, and there actually was a Star Wars reference in this because when they go to the rich guy's house, Dean says maybe his place is full of babes in Princess Leia bikinis.
Yeah.
And there was an MTV Cribs reference too because he says that George's house probably is not up next on MTV Cribs, which we're seeing the mess inside of it.
Well, that guy got fucked, right? You didn't go over that. How he got the talent, but he didn't get the fucking. He didn't get the fame. He should have asked for fame, not just the talent.
Yeah, I think Dean says that, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But
no, the black dude said it.
Oh. But and it's and Sylvia Pearlman is attacked by the Hellhounds at the Baskerville Motel, which is a shout out to the Hound of the Baskervilles, a 1959 movie.
Never seen that.
Either have I, but I've heard of it. And that's basically all I got. That's basically all I got for that episode, folks.
I noticed, like, you could see Dean's necklace that doesn't get like a shout out till like 8 seasons down. Well, maybe 4 or 5 seasons down the road. But like, do you think they always had that in play with Dean wearing that same fucking necklace?
I mean, I think it's just his personal necklace. He always wears it in real life anyway, so.
Oh, he wears it in real life?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I could be wrong. I honestly don't remember if they ever actually tell a story about where he got it from or anything, but.
Great writing. Like, they fucking, this is before we all got to listen to podcasts about this shit all the time. This is probably where a lot of podcasts fucking spun off and researched this shit. Like, you couldn't just research all this crazy shit back in the day.
And folks, I will say we got 2 pretty good episodes coming up next week, I believe. So, for this episode for Crossroad Blues, I would honestly have to give it a 4.5 out of 5 for the Hellhounds and for Crossroad Demons are freaking awesome. So
Same for me. I thought it was a fucking solid episode.
But we will be back next week, folks, with 2 more episodes of Supernatural. Until then, you have a good week, everybody. We will see you next week on Trap Thursday.
And remember to fucking buy your wives Mother's Day presents. That's this Sunday, fuckers.
Because these lazy ass kids won't do it. So, and to all the moms out there, happy Milk Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Milk Day.
Milk Day.